As an older millennial, I actually had an anxiety attack for the first time in 2011, 2012, and it was because of social media and phones.
Right, how so?
So I've always actually been a very mentally resilient person. And I think one of the sort of paradoxes of things like that is that when you're resilient and quite mentally tough, you then take that to the extreme, and what is a self-perceived strength becomes a vulnerability because you exploit it, and you take it too far fundamentally. And long story short, I was just using social media quite extensively. It was part of my PhD as well, looking at social media and social movements.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just using it a lot. And I started to, for the first time in my life, actually have like heart palpitations and tremors, sleeplessness. And in retrospect, and I had an anxiety attack at one point, and in retrospect, this was being caused by the technology. And for me, I think a combination of that and the housing crisis, so you can't afford rent, you're having to move constantly.
Right.
And also, this is going to sound incredibly sort of esoteric, high consumption of caffeine.
Okay.
These are the three things that 40, 50 years ago, people in their early to mid-20s probably weren't doing to the same extent in London.
Right. Coffees were much smaller than back then.
Right. Or tea, as I now drink.
Yeah.
And that in combination, gave me really, really strong anxiety.
Tell me more. What was happening on social media? Were you being criticized? Was it your reputation? Yeah, that's what I figured. That happened
Precisely.
to me too, yeah.
And it's something I want to talk about in a moment, this idea of conformity and prestige bias and how young people learn. But of course, it's not just young people that, think prestige is super important. And using things like Twitter at the time, you build social networks with strangers fundamentally, and you think their opinions and their views on who you are as a person, you think that matters, which is actually crazy. As an older person now who's 41, I think it's insane. Yeah. But when you're in your mid-20s, you don't think that actually. If all these people are saying you're horrible and nasty, you take it on board. And it's very additive, right? One day you don't notice, 1 week, 1 month. Right. But then after 18 months, actually, it really is wearing you down as a person. So I think it did hit millennials in a slightly different way. Where I think millennials are different is we weren't digital natives, and we have that hinterland of, okay, well, I know this isn't actually real. At a certain point, I can step back.
But knowing reality doesn't really shield you. Knowing that something isn't real doesn't really shield you, because these things are really acting on us unconsciously. The most important thing to us, I mean, we can say it's our children, and that is unconsciously, but vying with that is our reputation, is what people think about us. And that is certainly, in many cultures, men will die or risk death to avoid any stain on their honor or any loss of prestige. And so we all live in a prestige economy. Honor cultures are incredibly intense about it. Modern secular cultures are a little less so. We don't fight duels anymore. But I had the same experiences of you. It was times when I've been, when you're being attacked on social media, because we have these evolved sensors to detect, is it just like one person who doesn't like me, or is my reputation shot? And if it's growing and more people are saying it, there's a kind of an unconscious panic alarm that goes off. And so we're adults, and I thought I was tough too. But when I'm being attacked on social media, and it seems to be growing, I also get palpitations and some really intense anxiety. And we're adults, and we're pretty competent, effective adults. Imagine a 12-year-old whose body is changing. They don't know where they fit. They might have no friends or very few friends. So again, the idea that we have let childhood migrate onto what should be adult-only spaces, where literally men are stalking them and algorithms are hooking them. I mean, this should not be close. This should not be a difficult discussion to have. Just children should not be on these platforms.